Welcome to Perfectly Claire. I'm Doug Taylor, and with me today is my daughter Angie, back by popular demand. And today we're going to do something a little different. I've received a few questions from listeners, and I wanted to take time to answer them with care. And if you didn't send in a question, don't worry. Many of us are wondering the same things. Whether you're just beginning to explore your intuition or have been walking this path a long time. I hope today's episode offers a little insight, a little clarity, and maybe even a sense of connection. Welcome back, Angie.
Thanks for having me.
So today we've received a list of questions, and we're going to keep them anonymous. And if people would rather know where they came from, then we can reference that later.
Perfect.
So our first question today comes in is, can anyone develop the clear senses, or are they something you're born with? So I'll give you my interpretation of it. I think you're born with it. It's a matter of when it starts to come to fruition and rears its head, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I think you're able to develop it as you get older because you recognize what it is exactly you're seeing.
Absolutely. I think even you and I understood things much younger. I think because I was in a space where it was accepted a little bit more and there was some information around it. I know you, Dad, were a little bit older than me, but you probably were experiencing things without realizing it.
And I think that's true enough. And you mentioned that you were more accepted in the household as somebody was able to see things. And going back a few years when I was younger,
just a few.
It wasn't always as accepted. In fact, there were times I was told not to say anything because people would think that I was a little crazy, perhaps. Mm-hmm. So those are things that come to mind more than anything. So yes, I do believe you're born with them. I do believe you can develop them and fine-tune them over years, as well as you're able to be a little bit more specific with what you see and analyze it more.
Yeah, I think it's a muscle, right? Like if you train it enough, you'll start to hone it. But I think, like you mentioned, each person is born with their own specific sense, right? Some of us have one or two, some of us have all 8.
And interestingly enough, I still believe, and I've mentioned it many times, I believe everybody has senses, mm-hmm. and some are able to use them, some don't know how to use them, some haven't realized what those intuitive senses really are, mm-hmm. and some unfortunately may never know or refine them.
Absolutely. I meet people quite often and I'll chat about this, or a big common one is I'll identify someone who's an empath. And they have clear empathy, and they've maybe just been told their whole life they're overly sensitive, or they want attention when someone else is going through something, but they genuinely pick up on those emotions of other people, and they feel things so strongly, and they are in pain when someone else is in pain, and they're sad when someone else is sad, and it's so much more common than people realize. Like you said, I think everyone does have something. And it's just about learning how to navigate that.
So our next question comes from a listener who says, what's the difference between a gut feeling and a clear sense?
That's a good one.
It is a good one. And I guess it's instinct versus intuition versus deeper energetic sensing. A gut feeling, it's almost like claircognizance to a certain degree, mm-hmm. but not really. The clear sense pops in where you start to get the energy that you know that's that thing that you're seeing is truly real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a certain almost confidence or self-assuredness that goes along with the clairsense, where it's almost undeniable.
So our next question is, do the clairsenses show up differently with age or life experience? I think they do. I don't know if they show up. They've always been sort of dormant in some cases for people, for listeners. But I think that they do show up differently with age or life experience. For me, I really didn't embrace the ability that I have. When I was younger, I tried to shun it because for me, it was almost like every time I went to a party or went out with a group, they all thought I was the party favor. Yeah. I had to read them, and it was more of a sideshow than it was reality.
Yeah, I went through that too when I was younger, in my early 20s. Everyone thinks it's a gift, it's a fun thing. And a bit of a party trick, right, to pull out.
The one thing that that drives me a little bit wild is that people try to tell you what it is you're seeing or thinking. They want to be part of it, but they're not connected. It's difficult for that is to try to understand or listeners to understand. And that's the thing I take issue with is that they seem to believe what I should be seeing.
Yes.
So the next question is, how do I know if what I'm sensing is intuition or just my imagination? I have a take on that, Angie. What's your take?
You know what? This was something that I struggled with so much when I was younger, so much before I became self-assured in what I was feeling, because I would question, like, is this real? Is this, do I just have this active imagination? But it is so completely different in the way that it presents to me, at least personally. I see things very clearly in a mind's eye. It's different than an imagination. It's different than a daydream. I feel things very distinctly. I taste things very distinctly. It's different than a memory.
I agree with you. I think I do know the difference between intuition or just my imagination. Everybody thinks that it's just intuition. In reality, for me, the energy surrounding what I see, what I'm sensing, is more than just a passing moment. Mm-hmm. It's something that's very real, very tangible almost in my mind's eye, that I can see this and I know what really is about to happen or what's going on.
Yeah. So the next question that we got was very interesting, actually. Do you need to meditate or have a specific spiritual practice to be intuitive?
I don't know about anyone else, and I can't speak to anyone else. I could suggest that perhaps meditation would help. For me, in particular, I need to be well rested. Mm-hmm. I need to be comfortable, loose. For a lot of years, I tried to block it out. So I'm just starting to relearn how to keep myself open as far as channeling different images, events, anything that I read. I try to keep myself open so I can connect with different things in my mind's eye.
Yeah, I don't necessarily meditate every time. It's something that like you, I need to be pretty well rested. If I'm depleted in any way, shape, or form, even if I'm like physically depleted from the gym, I feel like I can't really focus. I can't read the same way.
And reading in general, it does take a lot of energy because remember, you're the channel, you're the messenger, that you're delivering a message that no one else can see or hear to somebody or a group of people, depending on who's around you. And it's very tiring. It's very difficult. And at times it is draining. And usually afterwards, I'm looking for a rest or bed.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I'm definitely, after a solid reading, I'm almost disoriented. I'm so depleted at times. If I've done a really long reading, I just need to lay down for sure. So another question, I think we're going to categorize these a little bit more personally, a little bit deeper, is what do you do when your intuition gives you an answer that you just don't want to hear?
Wow, that's a tough question. I don't know if they're specific to me, but for my intuition is different than the average person.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I kind of have to think about a little bit of humility, a little bit of surrender, I guess, so to speak, some timing around things. You know, you don't always want to hear the answers that you're going to get. But if you don't want to know the answer, don't ask the question.
I agree. If I'm the messenger and I see the answer, depending on what the answer is, then I try to not relay it as a cold hard punch. If it's not good news, then I tend to not deliver the whole message. A lot of people can't handle it.
Yeah.
And remember, as a messenger, you're telling somebody something. And in some cases, they may want to live their whole life on that answer.
Yeah.
And that could be detrimental to their well-being as well. Most of my messages are spirit-related. What's happened in their past history. And part of talking about or reading the past history is validating to the person I'm reading that, yes, I have a message or I have seen something in their life, and it's not just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. I think with that in mind, we have to really consider and think about that when you are the messenger, there's a lot of weight to it because people will often think that you have all the answers.
Correct. Yes.
But
I agree.
It's a newspaper, like we said before, right? Like, exactly. and the news can change.
Absolutely, it can.
Every choice, every decision, every toggle can change things.
Which is why, again, I don't want people putting their whole life on a reading, nor should they, whether it's me or anyone else.
Yeah, too much stock in something can be
Correct.
A bad thing, for
yeah.
sure. With that in mind, how do you handle, maybe more personally, how do you handle fear when connecting with spirit or energy?
It's a good question for myself, and I've mentioned this several times. I don't think anybody should be afraid of spirit, probably 90-95% of the time. Spirit is there because they're attached usually to the person in the house or in the living space or workspace or wherever. They're attached to that individual. So it's not as if there's something there that is strange. It's somebody that you've known or known you in the past.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a fear issue with spirit. As a matter of fact, I've had people being afraid of spirit that they've heard going through their house, and I've said, embrace it, recognize it, and surprisingly, they haven't. They felt more at ease.
100%. I've always found that just like acknowledging that the spirit's there, even if you can't see or hear them, but you're recognizing, certain foot patterns or hearing things literally go bump in the night, you can still communicate. You can still speak out to them.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I tell people. Tell them that, they're there. And if you acknowledge it, you'd be surprised at, especially louder spirit.
Yes.
That tends to get quieter. It doesn't necessarily go away, but I believe spirits making as much noise as they can in order for you to realize or acknowledge that they're there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I've found that for both of us, we've definitely experienced this where these kind of senses help with grief or connecting with loved ones. So we got a question around that specifically. Can it help? Maybe specifically with those who have passed. For me, I definitely have found that being able to offer reassurance or validation or care or some personal insight.
I think you're right. I think the senses can help with grief. It can console you. It can connect you with anyone that has passed. And again, it depends if that spirit is, it can connect to the spirit. Doesn't necessarily mean that the spirit is around you at this particular time. It just seems that certain spirits, I believe, have difficulty accepting the fact that they've crossed.
Yes.
And they're very busy in your environment in some cases, while others are beyond and they still connect in subtle ways.
Yeah, I agree.
And the one question we have here is it okay to be curious but skeptical? I think healthy skepticism is welcome and it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you should block any connection that could be there and you're not really aware of.
Yeah, completely. I think, there's a lot of people that are fully skeptics, full-fledged skeptics. And that I think any type of extremism is not beneficial. Like I mentioned before, in any industry, any type of belief system, any type of spirituality, any type of anything. If you have a huge amount of skepticism, you're closing yourself off. But an openness is great. You can be a little skeptical. Of course, you can have questions. And, I had a lot of questions when I was younger. I didn't understand things fully. And now I have at least the affirmation, I guess, that, things happen that we don't always have an explanation for.
No, not everything has to make sense exactly at the same time. And speaking of not making sense, one of our listeners have said, have you ever had an intuitive message that didn't make sense at the time but did later? This happens to me, and I'm sure you and other mediums all the time.
Constantly.
The spirit reaches out and they give you a number, 12 or 15. That makes no sense to you at the time. It may make sense to the person that you're reading, or that's a message that is going to be used at a later date for somebody that you're reading. So spirit's reaching out in that way. What about yourself?
100%. You and I laugh about this all the time. I laugh about this with my partner. You'll read someone and you'll say, is there a family member born on, born in September, or, does this date make sense to you? No, it makes no sense. And so you're just a messenger. You're like, okay, well, exactly. This is completely arbitrary to me. I have no personal stake in this. So I'm just trying to tell you what I see. And then later in the reading, they'll come back to it. And like, oh, well, actually it was my father who was born in September.
I've done that quite a few times. That the message might not make sense to me, or for that matter, to the person you're reading at the time. And I get that constantly. We were just in a coffee shop with one of our future guests a couple of days ago, and it's funny. I just started reading somebody who dropped in on the conversation. And no. And then she comes back. Oh, yes, I was told that. It was. So I'm thinking, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Here we go. So.
It can be so frustrating because you're just trying to provide some validation and trying to provide some answers. And you start thinking, am I going crazy? Am I misinterpreting something? Yeah. Am I picking up on maybe someone else in the room?
Exactly.
Or
maybe I'm delivering the wrong message.
100%. Because that can also happen quite a bit, where if you're in a crowded room, it can get very confusing. And you can start picking up on multiple different people, or people at the same table, or someone just even that's like walked by you and kind of interrupted a reading.
Well, I know for myself, one of the busiest places for me to do a reading is in a restaurant.
Oh, completely.
And especially if the restaurant has history to it. It's an older establishment, maybe a family-owned business,
Yes.
something like that. It's like when I'm sitting in the restaurant, I see nothing but full tables of spirit. People have passed. And that gets to be quite busy, and to the point that it becomes like an onslaught, like an avalanche of spirit in there.
It definitely does. I've had moments where I'll never forget. I was taken to a restaurant actually by my oldest brother and his now wife. And I walked into the restaurant and I immediately felt so much heaviness. I immediately felt so much spirit around me. And I was quite young. I was around 19 at the time. And I could not understand what was happening. I had never experienced something to that magnitude in terms of a restaurant specifically. And I wasn't prepared. Restaurants were normally very, very busy, but this was something else. And I had to ask, I said, do we know what the building was before this or anything? Cause there's a lot going on here. And I found out that it actually had been the city morgue.
Oh my God.
Prior. So I was like, well, that's the answer. Because
that would definitely be busy.
There's a lot of energy in here, but there's even since then, I've been able to channel how to channel, how to block when I need to block a little bit more, how to focus, how to open myself up, because there's a lot to be said around experience. And actually one of the questions that we got, our last question pretty much, I think, were what are some ways that I can strengthen my intuition?
I'll let you answer that part before I put in my comments on it.
Sure. Yeah. I think really simple practices such as sitting in silence, paying attention more to things that you see, specifically dreams. A lot of information comes to me in my dreams. I experience quite a heavy amount of kind of deja vu where I will have already seen like exact settings, exact moments. And then even, 6 months, a year later, it might come to fruition. Meditation is great. Just feeling centered, journaling, expressing yourself, having open communication in your own life, I find can help you just open yourself up to this other side of the world, really.
I agree with you with journaling or making notes of what you are either seeing or experiencing or getting you prepared for readings. I'm not a big note maker or taker for that matter. But quietness, silence is good. And paying attention. The big thing is you mentioned about blocking. In the past, I used to block the what I thought was my ability, which it is today. I would block it because I didn't want to do it. I tried to shut everything out. And I think the most important thing is to keep yourself open. And that's what I do try to do now, is keep my mind's eye open and open for any connections that may come along at any time of the day or night. I accept that connection now.
Yeah, that's it. It really is. I think everyone I know that has some sort of sense or ability to read or see has gone through this period of blocking, right? Because it's so overwhelming. It's sometimes we don't want to open ourselves up to it. Sometimes we don't want to admit to it, or there's a big stigma around it because there are so many skeptics as well, where some people might treat you like you're a little cuckoo, right? You're a little woo-woo. And so you block certain things out. I think with age, I have found that I need to stay open. I feel like me when I'm open, right? This is something that I am, something that I see my whole life. I've gone through this. So being able to be open, having a partner that's very supportive of that, having family that is obviously very open and supportive of that, having a father that sees, pretty much what I see and some, right? It's a really great environment for me to be able to step into my own. And things have strengthened over time. And now I definitely will read a lot more off the cuff, a lot more impromptu readings when things just are a little bit more overwhelming. And I have to say something. You have that compulsion to say something.
It's almost like a release.
It is. Yeah. You feel so good getting it off your chest almost.
Yeah, very relieved. Yeah. I understand it when everything just builds up and you know that it's messages that you've received, and now you got to empty the mailbox, basically.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I can agree with you for sure on that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much to everyone for all of your incredible messages and questions and feedback. I'm very, very excited to have been able to join my dad here again on Perfectly Claire.
Thank you, Angie, for joining us today. And for everyone out there, thank you also for being here with us. These questions remind me of something important. No matter where we are in this journey, we all wonder, we doubt, we seek, and we feel. I hope something here met you where you are. If you have a question for a future episode, I'd be honored to hear from you. In our next episode, we'll be joined by Jacqueline Kaiser, a tarot reader and astrologer. She'll be exploring with us the world of astrology, what it means to her, and how she utilizes it in her practice. Until next time on Perfectly Claire, stay curious and trust the quiet ways your knowing speaks. What?
Delve.